Submittals are the official way for you as a contractor to supply information on project elements to the owner. Now, you may not actually put together all the submittals. They may be supplied by your subcontractors or your vendors, and then you'll take those and submit them to the owner. Never, ever should one of your subcontractors or your vendors take submittals and directly submit them to the owner. They should always go through you first. Now, submittals sometimes have to be approved and sometimes they don't. Sometimes submittals are for information only. Whether the submittals for information only are approved or it's going to be in the specifications. The fact that you even need a submittal will be outlined in the specifications. If it's for approval, you put the submittal together, you submit it to the owner, and now you have to wait for the owner or the architect to get back to you with an approval. You can't proceed with that part of the work until you have that approval in place. If it's for information only, you put the submittal together, you submit it to the owner or the architect, and you continue working. Nothing stops you from continuing that process. The architect just wants to see from the submittals that the correct product is being used or the correct colors or the correct patterns. That's why they want approval, just to make sure that it is what was intended in the original design. Shouldn't take too long, and normally the time for submittal approvals is outlined in the contract. So what you might see as far as submittals go, certainly shop drawings. Shop drawings that are done by vendors and such have to go for approval, and that will go with a submittal. You'll see this for trusses, prefabricated components, or special equipment. Spec sheets are submitted on certain equipment so that the architect can see that those certain performance requirements are being met. You'll see this on things like lighting and HVAC equipment. And then finally, you'll see sample submittals, things for siding, roofing, carpet, paint, and so on. So here's an example from the Popefield Terrace project. So in the drawings, they call for a particular type of HVAC unit, as we can see here in the schedule. When we actually look up that unit, we can see that that unit has been discontinued. But it referred us to a substitute unit. When we look at the spec sheet for the substitute unit, we can see that there are no 15 SEER units and there are no 1.5 ton units. All of a sudden, we don't have an HVAC unit that we can choose that meets that spec. So what would you do next in that situation? I hope you said submit an RFI, a request for information. Now the architect has to help you choose the right equipment. Now, if you're smart, what you would do is you would choose equipment that you thought would work really well there and submit that along with your RFI and ask them if this would be a suitable alternative. That way you're getting a couple things done in one. If it is an alternative, the architect has to answer the question and process a change order because it does change the contract. And here is an example of the spec sheet that you would be submitting as your submittal.